In the headlines, NLC threatens indefinite strike over fuel subsidy removal negotiations. House committee questions security heads over Nigeria's border security. Man calls for help following kidnapping of wife and children. On the foreign scene, Madagascar opposition denounces institutional coup d'etat. Hello there. Welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Now, a week after its two-day nationwide warning strike, the organized labor has threatened to begin an indefinite strike action if the federal government fails to meet its demands. Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has given a 21-day ultimatum which will expire in a week's time. The workers' union says the proposed strike action was necessary following the failure of the federal government to provide palliatives to assuage Nigerians' hardship because of the fuel subsidy removal in the country. The Nigeria Labour Congress says the industrial action, which may commence any day from next week, would lead to an indefinite shutdown of commercial and economic activities across the country. The NLC Assistant General Secretary Christopher Onyeka told reporters that the federal government was wrong to share a bag of rice to a dozen citizens while reportedly giving millions to National Assembly lawmakers. Among other demands, the NLC and the Trade Union Congress are asking for wage awards, implementation of palliatives, tax exemptions and allowances to public sector workers, and a review of the minimum wage. Now, though the federal government had made commitments to restructure the framework for engagement with the organized labor on palliatives, the 8-week time frame set for the conclusion of the processes expired in August, with no action taken so far. The Chairman, House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on International Boundary Dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon, Benny Lar, says the House is concerned about the state of security agencies on Nigeria's borders. Lar said this at the ongoing investigative hearing on the boundary dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon on Tuesday in Abuja. The report.
Following complaints by Nigerians living at the borders between Nigeria and Cameroon and the hardship encountered due to incessant incursion into the nation's territory by terrorists from neighboring Cameroon over disputed territories, members of the House Ad Hoc Committee began investigation to get an insight into the matter. The chairman of the committee says the hearing has become imperative since the communities in contention are Nigerians and the peoples are Nigerians. She says it is important to understand the role of paramilitary and the military in ensuring the protection of Nigerian citizens in the disputed area in line with the ruling of the International Court of Justice as it concerns the disputed territory.
A series of lingering boundary hotspots across the Nigerian-Cameroon boundaries, which stretches up from the Lake Chad region down to the Cross River estuary. We recall that we did the first phase of this interactive session for the Danare-Biajua axis, following which the committee visited Danare communities in Cross River State and held a public hearing in Cross River State to investigate and find the facts for us. On that visit, we met with the executive governor and all the relevant stakeholders in Cross River.
The Director General of the Nigerian Boundary Commission, Adamu Adaji, in his submissions, blamed this disagreement in the disputed territories to lack of understanding of international laws by members of the affected community.
When we were addressing the boundary, we had to come to take over some communities of Cameroon that fell on the Nigerian side. We have part of Guria, Mokoge, Yende, Rumzu villages that were now relinquished by Cameroon because they were found to be on the Nigerian side. So if there's any Nigerian territory that is now falling on the Cameroon side, we do the same.
Point of the judgment. But along the line, when they came to Rumske, whether you are aware, Attorney General, or you're not aware, when they came to place beacons in Rumske, which Nigeria gained from Cameroon, which is a tourist center, a mixed commission the watershed is missing. I'm quoting because I was on the field with the staff, former director of National.
Members of the committee were also satisfied with the response of the Commission and the Attorney General's office as they suggested alternative means to resolving the dispute.
There seems to be maybe some doubt in the judgment, because if you are using a watershed here and then you are coming and saying these people came down from the valley and now you are using the valley.
We should try to be as patriotic as we can. Whether you are affected today or you're not affected by your decisions today. The thing that is lacking, the very basic ingredient that is lacking in this country is patriotism.
Present at the hearing are the Army, Air Force, Navy, NSCDC, Customs, Immigration and DSS. The committee is expected to submit its report to the House for further legislative action.
Now, the kidnapping scourge in Nigeria is continuing to hit many families across the country as a mother and her two daughters were allegedly kidnapped around Galadima district of the Federal Capital Territory. The husband, a staff member of the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority, says the incident occurred when his wife and their children were driving back home. After alerting the police on the development, efforts were made to track down the kidnappers without much success. According to him, the kidnappers have already made demands to the family to the tune of 100 million naira as ransom for the release of the mother and her two daughters. Nigeria's Minister of Transportation, Saidu Alkali, has inaugurated the first cargo movement from the Lagos-Ibadan rail corridor during an official visit to the rail corridor on Tuesday. The minister kicked off the tour at the Ebute Metta station before proceeding to Apapa for the launch, then traveled to Ibadan using the 150-kilometer rail corridor. Now, 3 coaches of 30 wagons were loaded as the inaugural freight movement. Now, the Nigeria Railway Corporation said it will start the 3 coaches per day, with its managing director noting that the corporation had the capacity to scale up the numbers. This effort is expected to decongest the Apapa port as shippers move 92.28% of Nigeria's total exports and 60.7% of imports through the facility in the first quarter of 2022. With the flag off, the Nigeria Railway Corporation says 3 trains of 30 wagons would be lifted daily out of the ports, thereby decongesting the port environment. The minister says the freight train would operate on a single track temporarily pending when the customs scanner would be removed, disclosing that the ministry is interfacing with the customs to remove the scanner. Now, the Delta State government has outlined the procedure it will adopt in distributing palliatives to citizens across the state to cushion the effect of subsidy removal by the federal government. Secretary to the state government and Chairman, State Subsidy Palliative Committee Kingsley Amu, at a news conference in Asaba, the Delta State capital, revealed that the state would adopt a distribution model of 40% to 500 Delta State Independent Electoral Commission awards in the state, with 10% reserved to show up urban wards. Now, he further says that 25% would be distributed to heavily impacted people, consisting persons living with disabilities and widows, while 20% would be for poor and vulnerable households and 5% marked for contingency across local government areas in the state. According to the Secretary to the State Government, every local government area in the state will receive 696 bags of 50-kilogram rice, while maize would also be distributed to poultry farmers across Delta State.
What we have done after His Excellency appointed the steering committee that I have announced here, we sat down and looked at the distribution of what we have. I think it's about 17,400 bags of rice. So far, we have received 13,800. We still have a shortfall. We haven't said that we can commence distribution in some areas because we have it in good authority that they will pay. They will deliver those bags of rice, the balanced bags of rice to us. We've also been informed that there's also about 16,500 bags of maize that will get to us pretty soon. I hope I'm correct with that figure. Will get to us pretty soon.
In other palliative-related news, the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, has commissioned 70 new luxurious buses to ease movement of civil servants and residents across the state. Unveiling the metro buses at Borno Express Terminus in Maiduguri, the capital, Babagana Zulum says the second phase of the intervention is set to alleviate the suffering of commuters occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy. The new buses, specially acquired for this purpose, comprised of standard-sized buses and larger buses to accommodate a greater number of passengers across the state.
I want you to maintain this very important point and ensure that you bring down the cost of transportation. The cardinal objective of establishing the mass transit program is to reduce the hardship of the community.
In the face of the current economic situation in Nigeria, there have been renewed calls in Benue State for youths to embrace skill acquisition and entrepreneurship. With the federal government already wooing investors into the country, Benue residents have admonished the youths in the state to acquire skills that will make them employable or become self-reliant. Jimmy Azandi spoke to a cross-section of the youths in Makurdi, the Benue State capital.
Report to them weekend.
The idea of waiting for white-collar jobs has left thousands of high school graduates stranded on the streets, thinking of how and where to survive. These residents blame that state of unproductiveness on poor academic mentoring in Nigeria and said this is a time to correct the mistakes of the past.
You discover that certificate is not working any longer. Besides that, that is why nobody should go to school with the mindset that after graduation, I will come back and I will be employed. To call on all the men, every man worldwide, that we need to continue to be man enough. And particularly in Nigerian situation that we find ourselves now, economically, things are very difficult.
Because the topic today on entrepreneurship, that is the way to go. Even without the certificate, that you can now augment yourself to do one thing or the other. Today is not all about the certificate, but what you have upstairs.
The message of entrepreneurship is for humanity, for man, woman, for states, for governments, anybody who is interested in the development of the human race.
I told the young coming youth that there is no business that can give you money like farming. Politics is a waste of time to myself. I believe in farming more than any other business because there is no business that will give you what farm will give you, as far as I'm concerned.
While a greater percentage of the Benue youth still wait for white-collar jobs for survival, these opinion leaders are concerned that the best way to go is to think in the line of self-development. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
In politics, the PDP in Katsina State has decried the judgment of the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal nullifying the election victory of its party candidates as federal lawmakers. Abdullahi Amadi reports that the party's 2023 Campaign Council Chairman, Senator Ibrahim Tsauri, says the court's judgment will be appealed.
Recently, the National Assembly Petition Tribunal in Katsina, headed by Justice O. Ogunforua, invalidated the election of Aminu Ahmadu Chindo of the PDP representing Katsina Central Federal Constituency and Ismail Elha representing Kankia Kusada Yangawa Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. The basis for their disqualification was the alleged presentation of forged primary school certificates. Senator Ibrahim Tsauri said the verdicts were a miscarriage of justice, calling on their supporters to be calm, and the judgment will be further tested.
The appeal court, in its ruling on President Tinubu's credentials, rules that credentials are secondary and is a pre-election and judicial matter. But with the Katsina State Tribunal, it's not the case, because two of our honorable members were denied justice because of their perceived school certificates, primary school certificates. What a pity.
Senator Rory is worried that the disqualification by the court is hinged on primary school certificates.
2 our senators who approached the tribunal with convincing proofs and evidences were shown the way out by the tribunal because of pure judicial injustice. What the learned judges gave us reasons were never legal but personal, without referring to any court legal interpretation.
The party said it will explore all legal avenues to challenge the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal, upturning the victory of its members. Abdullahi Izuma Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Well, you're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead after the break, we take a look at the effects of the deplorable state of Benin-Onitsha-Warri Expressway. More on this and many other stories coming up ahead in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hello guys, welcome to Showtime.
I don't even believe there's any other industry that will handle me like movie industry.
Yeah.
I told you I'm deep and soaked into movie industry.
In secondary school, there's Fatima and Mariam Adamu, and then we sort of took the names of the characters in that cartoon.
I think entertainers themselves need to wake up and smell the coffee and say, diversification is the way to go. Yes, you can sing or make great beats or act in a film, but what else can you do?
I became one of the best makeup artists in Nigeria. I won BAMA Award Best Makeup Artist.
Do you think we are I read the food when I talk to you, you start straight. Attention!
Welcome back. Here's a quick recap of our top stories at this hour. Nigeria Labour Congress threatens indefinite strike action over government's failure to meet their demands. House Committee on National Border Security questions security heads on Nigeria's borders. Now moving on to some of the day's other news. Residents of Diffa town in Niger Republic are appealing to government across the region to improve on the security situation in the area in order to guarantee safety of lives and property. They spoke to Trust TV's Adamu Gulde, who filed in this report from Diffa town in Niger Republic.
In Diffa Central Market of Niger Republic, women spend times in fish stores waiting for buyers from the Lake Chad, after being hit hard by increasing extremist violence over the past few years. The region's economy is also cracking under the weight of insecurity and climate change.
Life here in Diffa is not easy. We live in insecurity. We don't have jobs. The climate is deteriorating. Livestock farming, agriculture, trade, all is not going well. We're very scared because sometimes we hear gunshots.
People are hoping for relief from insecurity and mounting economic and social problems that have almost destroyed the entire life of the people in the town. Niger is the poorest country in the world. According to the 2020 UN, the Human Development Index, with nearly half of its population living under $1 per day. From Diffa town in Niger Republic, Adamu Gulde, Trust TV News.
Now, travelers on the Benin-Onitsha-Warri Expressway have decried the bad condition of the roads in Edo State. Now, the roads have been in a deplorable state for quite some time now, with negative implications on the socio-economic well-being of the people. Hamid Oyegbade tells us more.
The traffic gridlock became unbearable as vehicles plying the Benin-Onitsha-Warri Expressway were grounded to a halt, leaving travelers to groan. The travelers lamented that they wasted several hours in the traffic, which disrupted their journey and thwarted their plans. They also said that the bad condition of the road exposed people to serious security risks, especially at night.
Soldiers, some people will sometimes spend 3 days here, sometimes 4 days. As you can see now, there's no road, there's no way you can go. So it's a very annoying situation in the country. Very, very annoying.
See our road. See Johnny, where they go? Since morning, Johnny was supposed to take me 2 hours 30 minutes. Now it's almost 6 hours. The 6 hours I don't hang for road. My motor don't sing for poto. I beg, as I talk out like this, I must talk, and the way it take be for me, you don't hide me.
I beg federal government, the road is bad. People they spend 2 hours, 4 hours. Some motor they destroy. The road is not good.
They need to come out and look for what is happening, because sometimes we spend 5 hours here at a spot, we can't go anywhere. At the end of the day, sometimes we spend a night, we spend a day here. So at least let the federal government come out and help us. We need the help. Let the councillor, let the chairman, let them go out and tell them what is happening. Let them come here and see how people are suffering. For a whole day, you spend 5-6 hours at a spot. It's not fair. Let the federal government and let the state government also come out to do something. I believe with them, we can be free. Sometimes they rob us on this road.
Some residents lamented that the bad condition of the intrastate roads in Edo State is making life difficult for them and wanted this addressed. Amid Ojegbade, Trust TV News.
Action Aid Country Director in Nigeria, Andrew Mamedu, wants Nigeria's government at all levels to seek relevant partnerships to address the high rising poverty across the country. In a chat with journalists in Abuja, Mamedu says having 133 million Nigerians living in multidimensional poverty in the country of 200 million population does not only call for a major concern, but is a threat to national security. He calls for interrogation of the recent data released by the National Bureau of Statistics, which says that Nigeria's unemployment rate has dropped to 4.1% in the first quarter of 2023.
133 million persons are living in multidimensional poverty. Recently, we got a figure, shocking figure, that our unemployment rate has reduced. Poverty is man-made. If it is man-made, all we need to do is, it's about redistribution of our wealth and ensuring that the poorest of the poor is able to be accounted for. There are two things we ask from government. One, the Constitution guarantees that protection of life and property and the welfare of the citizens. Those are the two things we ask from government. Guarantee that to every citizen, then whatever you want to do, it's a social contract. So you are there because as citizens we agree for you to be there, and we will hold you accountable. You are not there as Lord and Master, you are there as a public servant.
All right, let's turn our attention now to developments on the international scene, and we start in Madagascar as the Malagasy opposition has denounced institutional coup d'etat orchestrated by President Rajoelina after a series of court decisions which, according to the opposition, favors the head of state a candidate for re-election in less than 2 months. Now, in a letter received Tuesday by the Electoral Commission and consulted by AFP, 10 candidates in the presidential election have accused the head of the state of manipulating institutions to favor his election to a second term in office as head of government or head of the Great Ocean Island. Malagasy people go to the polls for the first time, a round of voting on November 9th later this year. The second is scheduled for December 20th. 13 candidates are in the running, including Andry Rajoelina, who is 49 and who came to power in 2009 through a coup d'etat. Now, in recent days, a series of decisions from the Constitutional Court, the country's highest court, have, according to the opposition, deliberately cleared the outgoing president's horizon for the vote. Now, this game of musical chairs was validated on Saturday by the Constitutional Court in the country. The same day, the court rejected 3 appeals demanding that Rajoelina and his candidacy be declared invalid for, quote, lack of Malagasy nationality. The decision, published late in the evening, deemed the request filed in September by the 3 opposition parties as, quote, inadmissible at the end of June. Information leaked to the press revealed that the president was a naturalized French citizen on the sly in 2014, and it triggered a controversy in the country. According to Malagasy Nationality Code, he would then be supposed to lose his Malagasy nationality. Without his nationality, he can neither lead the country nor be a candidate in the forthcoming election. To sports now, Nigeria Super Falcons forward Desiree Ugochi Oparanozie has announced her retirement from football for both country and club at the age of 29. Now, she was included in the squad that represented Nigeria at the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, which started in July and ended in August. Oparanozie had a successful career in the Chinese Women's Super League and represented Nigeria's national team on different occasions. Now, she started at Bielsa Queens and later played for Delta Queens, and much later to the Duvelicila Lesespo. In 2012, she transferred to Rosyanka in Russian Women's Football Championship. She had a successful stint over there in Russia, playing in the UEFA Women's Champions League and scoring a goal. After that, she moved to VfL Wolfsburg in Bundesliga for the 2013-2014 season. Well, good luck to her in her further endeavors. Now that sums it up on to the news update at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us at this hour. Feel free, as always, to follow us across our social media platforms for more content and visit trusttv.com for more news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.